Welcome to this week's episode of Success and Women. I'm Linda B, and unfortunately, my partner, Andrea, is still under the weather, but we hope to have her back very, very soon. And it brings me to today's topic in how do you know? When Andrea and I started doing this program and we launched it in January, how did we know that she would end up getting a flu shot and having a reaction, well, that was keeping her under the weather as if she's had the flu for weeks on end? You don't know. You think that you're doing a good thing by getting the flu shot, so you protect the people around you. But in life, there's a lot of how do you know? So this week, I went out to the theater. How did I know that the show that my friend and I were going to go to was just somebody standing up on stage talking about, I'll say, their career. But this is a young person who has barely started in his career, but the trial and tribulations of actually being an actor. I didn't know that that's what the show was going to be about. I thought I was going to see a play about some interesting story. And if you think about it, ladies, we all have a story. And if it takes so little to entertain an audience, imagine if you're a good storyteller, the stories you could tell about your own career up to that point. Can you monetize that? Maybe. How do you know you can't? Obviously, for this actor, he's getting paid to be up on stage talking about his career. He's too young to call him a lifer and having a lot of life experiences, but he's had some. And if you've even got children, imagine if they're 10, 12, 15. My niece is 21. I'm sure if I asked her to get up in front of the family and tell us some stories, she could do that. Now, how do we know they're going to be interesting? How do we know they're going to be stories worth listening to? We don't. In life, we never know. So going to the theater was one thing, and I didn't realize the storyline, but it was part of a subscription package, and so I went with my friend. We decided this time because we're in the city of Toronto, and Toronto has amazing restaurants because we're such a multicultural city. How did we know that when we decided to pick a new restaurant, instead of going for the tried and true that we had been going to many times, going to a particular restaurant before the theater, how did we know trying a new one would be our downfall? We didn't. But we tried it anyway. And we tried a new Mexican restaurant, well, new to us. It was on King Street in Toronto, and the problem was they served the food cold. How did we know that was going to happen? We didn't. We ordered hot Mexican food. We got lukewarm. The thing is, after dinner, a lot of people enjoy a nice cup of coffee. Now, how did we know this restaurant would think we were aliens asking for coffee in a Mexican restaurant? Again, we didn't know. But when you think about all the how do you know moments in your life, all those how do you know moments are bringing you forward, because now, in some cases, you will know. I know I would never recommend that particular play to anybody else. Now, if they want to go and hear this person's life story up to that point, I think he's in his 30s, go for it. Nothing wrong with that. But I know now that particular Mexican restaurant is not a restaurant I would go to again. If I'm going to spend my money, I want to enjoy my meal. So now I know. But it could be the same if you're making investments to buy a new house, to put away for your retirement, whatever it is. How do you know what you're doing is going to be the right thing? The whole thing about how do you know, it's to allow us to discover whatever it is we need to know. Because in life, you need to find out how things don't work so you can learn and from there, take a different pathway. Right now, I'm currently looking at purchasing a house. Well, I had been looking for quite a while, actually. And in the city of Toronto and in the outskirts of Toronto, the house pricing has gone through the roof. So after selling my house in December 2020, the market decided to take a spike up, and I sort of got priced out of the market. Now, how did I know that was going to happen? If I knew that, I would have held on to my house just a few more months. And then the market would have rewarded me with this higher amount that people were willing to pay. The thing is, I didn't know, but what I did know was I was ready to sell my house. Now, I own a city condo, and I like to walk around my neighborhood. And in doing that last summer, I discovered that there were these 2 houses that were being built in my neighborhood. So I decided to knock on the door when I saw a vehicle in one of the driveways to find out what I could about the house and whether it was going to go up for sale. I got to meet the owner, and he said yes, it was going to be going up. He was in the process of still building. He was finishing the 1 unit, and then he was going to be building the house next door, doing the finishing touches after the first one was done. But I expected that it was going to be up on the market in the fall. And after Christmas, it still wasn't up, and I left for Florida for the winter. When I came home, the house still hadn't gone on the market. And I went by and I knocked on the door again and was able to talk to the owner/builder. And what he told me was that he actually moved into one of the houses and the second house would be ready shortly. But in order to be fair, he had no idea what the pricing of the house would be because the market had changed. When he initially gave me a price last June, July, when I talked to him, I could afford the house. Then over the summer months into the fall, the pricing got so ridiculous, there were bidding wars on absolutely everything. How did I know that was going to happen to that degree? If I had known, I could have maybe convinced him to sell me the house before it was actually finished. But I didn't know. So I was letting him take his time to finish the house. Now, almost a year later, it's still not quite done, but it's going on the market. Now, maybe I'll be able to afford it, and maybe I won't. I won't get into a bidding war. If I meant to have the house, it will go for something I can afford. But then I thought, what do I do with my city condo? Because I'd always used it as my escape. If I wanted to go to the office, it's very close to my office. If I need to go downtown Toronto, it's on the subway line, and it's a fantastic location to keep. But then I thought, I don't really need it if my house is going to be in the neighborhood. And even though the house is bigger, a lot bigger than my little condo, the condo is a nice, convenient place to be. But is it worth the cost of keeping it when no one's really going to use it? So I'm trying to decide, and I do sometimes the Ben Franklin decision making, where you put on a piece of paper all the reasons why you should keep it, and on the other side of the paper, all the reasons why you should not do something. And I kept trying to think about, how do I know if this is the right time to sell? How do I know if I'm going to regret it or not? You know, sometimes people will apply for a job or decide they're going to give their resignation because they want to try something new. Then they have to turn around and ask themselves, how do I know if this is the right move? And you actually don't. You have to go on faith and the belief that whatever it is that you want to do, you can do. Many, many years ago, I had a government job with a pension, great benefits, but I wasn't happy. And I had decided I would go into sales where I would never know from pay to pay how much money I was going to make. But I believed deep down that if it didn't work out leaving the government job, two things could happen. One, potentially, I could get back into another department of the government because I had a good record while I was there. Or two, I could find something else to do. I believed in the skills that I had, that I could make a living, and I didn't have to worry that this was a big risk. Yes, I was giving up security, but I was going into something I thought I would be better suited because I like to work hard. I like to work. And if I can serve people, and the more effort I make, the better off I'll be financially, then why shouldn't I do something like that instead of the harder I worked in the government, the more, I'm going to say, flack I was getting from my peers because they didn't want me to make them look bad. Unfortunately, what happens in a lot of government jobs and areas, people get complacent. When they get complacent, they get lazy. When they get lazy, they stop doing and making the effort that they did when they first got the job. And it was unfortunate to see that among my peers. But I find giving my best makes me feel better, but it also makes the day go by much faster. So I was ready to leave. I was not cut out to be in a 9-to-5 job, and I was not cut out to be with people that didn't have ambition to work really hard. I really needed to be in an industry where people had to give it all to become successful. Now, I've never looked back, but you may be thinking, and nowadays, I did this 32 years ago, but nowadays it's even harder because sometimes it's a bigger risk if you haven't got the savings behind you or a supportive spouse or partner that will help you through the tough times. I was very fortunate when I made the big decision to leave a very secure job that my new boss was willing to give me a draw to cover at least basic expenses. I didn't know if I'd be making it. I didn't know if I actually made that right decision and I could make enough money to even pay the company back. But I knew I wanted to try. I knew deep down this sounded more in line with my values than working the 9-to-5 job just because it was secure. Now, my mother had a hard time understanding that because she liked the bird in the hand, I'll say. She liked knowing where the pay was going to come from. And I never felt that just because I got paid to show up, that it was secure for me. Looking back, I didn't know, but I can honestly say it was the best move I ever did. And so ladies, you can ask yourself, how do you know? Until the cows come home. You don't know until you go out and you try. But maybe one of the things that you have to really do in order to be successful is kind of have a backup plan to say, okay, this is what I would like to happen. And maybe you do both jobs while you're getting your feet wet enough to realize whether or not you can monetize it and actually say, I know I'll be okay. But you get one life. And if you don't ever find something that fulfills you and that you're passionate about, you'll be working for the rest of your life. Instead, I feel like I retired when I left my secure job. Even though I worked harder and longer hours, and it was my blood, sweat, and tears getting me through, I never felt like I was working when I was working for myself. And because of that, it's paid off. But over the years, I didn't rely just on my own self and my own skills. I believed I could do it, but I also realized that I needed mentors and coaches along the way to help me get there. And ladies, if you want to be successful, you don't need to do it alone. There's people willing to help you. But you got to show it's what you want in order to be successful. So this is Linda B signing off for this week. I'm hoping within the next week or two, my partner Andrea will be able to share her experiences and comments as well to help you succeed in whatever it is that you're doing and want to do. Until next time, don't forget to share, like, please subscribe. We're so far away from our 10,000 subscribers and we need your help. And of course, look for us on Instagram. We're also putting a few pictures here and there, and we'll be posting a little more often, but I need your help there as well. So it's ladies helping ladies. Until next time.